So before I get to the theme of Friday, which is, as I mentioned in earlier tweets and advertising, it's Ask Phil Night, which means you can ask any question you want. I'll do my best to answer them as long as I can. I won't make stuff up. That's one thing I promise you guys right from the get-go is I'll never make things up. But before I launch into tonight's question and answer, and I have a few questions or rather comments that came to me on Twitter and an email, because I put this on social media as well this morning. Two events that I've talked about this week have a lot to do with what I like to call instant analysis, which is a tendency of some people to pronounce verdicts or pronounce certainties on things before all the facts are in. The first one, of course, was the verdict in the Alek Manassian case that came down this week. We talked about him. He was the guy that ran down 26 people in Toronto in April of 2018. He was found guilty on all 26 counts of first-degree murder and attempted murder. And if you recall, the collected wisdom, the instant analysis that pretty well hit the streets from day one was that Alek Manassian was a violent incel. And it turns out he was not. He was simply a mass murderer. And yet a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon and said, this is a violent incel, this is a new trend in terrorism, and that Canadian security intelligence and law enforcement agencies should drop everything and start investigating violent incels. Well, that was wrong. He did have some interest in incels, but as the judge, her name was Justice Malloy, issued in her judgment, the incel angle was a veneer. It was an excuse for the desire to become a mass murderer. He was not misogynistic necessarily. He didn't hate women. He just wanted to use this as an excuse to justify the killing of 10 people and the injuring of 60. He wanted to kill hundreds. He was a failure there as well, but he was not a violent incel for the most part. So that instant analysis failed. The second one, of course, is something I reported on, I think it was a couple of days ago, and that was an attack in Sweden by a man who used a knife to injure 7 people. And the immediate instant analysis was that this was an act of terrorism. When it came out that the assailant, the perpetrator, was an Afghan refugee, an Afghan immigrant to Sweden, I saw on Twitter, oh, he's Muslim, he must be terrorist. He must be a terrorist. This must have been an act of violent extremism. In actual fact, Swedish police have acknowledged that while they thought that violent extremism was a possibility when they arrested the guy, they're now saying that they're no longer investigating the possibility of terrorism. Therefore, once again, instant analysis was proven to be wrong. Lesson? Don't do instant analysis. Wait for the facts to come in before you actually pronounce on anything. It's generally good advice for anything in life, and it certainly is good advice when you're looking at terrorism, national security, public safety, and issues like that. You look pretty stupid if you say something is, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck and looks like a duck, it's a duck, and it ends up being a pigeon. You look really dumb. So my advice to you, do not engage in instant analysis, no matter what your lot in life is.